Hi, ArcfieldWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Wednesday morning, February 23rd, an unusually mild day in the Mid-Atlantic region. High temperatures likely to reach near the 70-degree mark in D.C., perhaps mid to upper 60s in Philadelphia and New York City, but temperatures will tumble in the overnight hours following the passage of a cold frontal system, and that will set the stage for a winter weather event from later tomorrow into tomorrow night and actually all the way into the early part of Friday. That wintry weather event on the way can certainly result in some significant icing in parts of the Mid-Atlantic region, primarily far northern suburbs of D.C. across the Pennsylvania-Maryland border into southern and central Pennsylvania. Again, that's the area where significant ice buildup is possible. There can be accumulating snow with this winter weather event. Places like New York City certainly can get up to a few inches at the onset to early tomorrow night into the middle part of tomorrow night, before even there it changes over to sleet and ultimately to freezing rain. It looks like the Friday morning commute will be an icy mess anywhere from, let's say, the Philadelphia metro region north and east. Certainly New York City will be a mess as well. Let's take a look at the latest radar loop here from the College of DuPage weather website, and there's just one feature here I want to point out, and this is a crucial feature, and it's really without a lot of fanfare. Right here, you see this little bitty line right there showing up, extends all the way down here and all the way down here. That is the surface cold front. The surface cold front does not have a lot of precipitation along with it, but it is moving from northwest to southeast, and it will make a huge difference in the temperatures in the Mid-Atlantic region, especially in the overnight hours. It stays warm for much of today. The real cold advection behind this frontal system comes in the overnight hours, and all areas from D.C. to Philadelphia to New York City should be at or below the freezing mark by tomorrow morning, and that is following 65 to 70 degree highs this afternoon. The clouds from this morning will break away into some sunshine for the midday and afternoon, and it will be unusually mild. But again, behind that cold frontal system, temperatures will plunge in the overnight hours. Well, let's take a look at a couple of total accumulated freezing rain amount forecast maps from two different models here. We're looking at the 0Z run of the GFS right here, then we'll take a look at the Canadian model, and then we'll kind of decipher the Canadian model run. I think it has a pretty good handle on the situation. This is a map of total accumulated freezing rain by the time we're done with the event later Friday night time frame, and it continues to show really a cause of concern especially across Pennsylvania-Maryland border region, all across southern Pennsylvania, central Pennsylvania. When you see amounts this high, that is a cause of concern on untreated surfaces such as trees. You could certainly have a buildup of ice tomorrow night we're talking about, and anytime you have a buildup of ice of any kind of significance, you have to worry about power outages. Again, it looks like really the northern, perhaps the western suburbs of D.C. on northward. And again, the real focus of concern on my part is across anywhere from the Pennsylvania-Maryland border all the way up into the central part of the state, and that also can extend into interior sections of New Jersey. And here is the same type of forecast map for total accumulated freezing rain by the Canadian model, and it too is a cause of concern across southern Pennsylvania, central Pennsylvania. Look at some of these totals here, over an inch of ice, and that will accumulate on untreated surfaces such as the trees, grass, and any roadways that are untreated. Again, generally northern suburbs of D.C. on north, but again, the real area of concern is across southern and central Pennsylvania, maybe even extreme northern part of Maryland. So again, this is the Canadian model. It tends to agree with the GFS model that we have an ice buildup threat for tomorrow night in much of the Mid-Atlantic region. Well, let's walk through the Canadian model run from 0Z last night. Again, I think it has a pretty good handle on the situation. And there's a lot going on because we're dealing with snow, we're dealing with sleet, freezing rain, and plain rain, all in a relatively narrow area from, let's say, upstate Pennsylvania, New York State, where it should be primarily a snow event, all the way down to the D.C. metro region, where it certainly can start off as a wintry mix before ending up as plain rain. First of all, this is the forecast map from the 0Z run for this morning, 7 a.m. this morning, and here is the cold front. Again, not associated with much in the way of precipitation, but it is a hugely important frontal system right here, as it will continue to push from the northwest to the south and east and cause a tumble in the temperatures in the overnight hours. Again, it remains mild for much of the day, and with the breakout of sunshine during the midday and afternoon hours in D.C., Philadelphia, New York City area and surrounding suburbs, temperatures will jump all the way up to near 70 degrees in many spots. It will be quite breezy, but this front continues to push to the south and east, and the cold advection behind it really intensifies this evening, and then temperatures plunge in the overnight hours, again likely reaching maybe 29, 30, 31 degrees by early tomorrow morning, all the way across D.C., Philadelphia, New York City corridor. Well, let's now push forward here in time and watch what happens. Not much in the way of precipitation. It cannot rule out an isolated shower over the next several hours with that frontal system, the passage of that frontal system. But for the most part, a dry day in the Mid-Atlantic region. Then we get into the nighttime hours. Notice the isobar pattern setting up here that will feature northerly winds, northwesterly winds, funneling in cold air from the north to the south. Again, we've talked about this cold air damming type of setup. Indeed, what we have here is strong high pressure by tomorrow morning that will kind of have an extension all the way into southeastern Canada. Cold air will pour down the eastern side of the Appalachian Mountains in what we call a cold air damming setup. That low level, dense Arctic air will drop all the way south, all the way into the D.C. metro region, and even south and west of there. Now, during the day on Thursday, there will be some scattered, relatively light precipitation breaking out, primarily south of the Pennsylvania-Maryland border. It's kind of an initial wave with this system. There might even be a lull in the precipitation late in the day, early tomorrow night, before a more widespread, heavier precipitation event breaks out early tomorrow night. So let's move forward here with the Canadian model. Again, watch out for some scattered rain, sleet, or snow in the D.C. metro region during the day tomorrow, maybe even a little bit north of the Pennsylvania-Maryland border, but not much in the way of precipitation, especially north of the Pennsylvania-Maryland border during the day on Thursday. Then we get into the late afternoon, early evening hours. Can be a little bit of a lull in precipitation as that first wave passes on by, and then the kind of explosion of precipitation occurs early tomorrow night. Here we go. Far northern suburbs of D.C. early tomorrow night, middle part of tomorrow night, still could be close enough to freezing for some freezing rain, and certainly across the Pennsylvania-Maryland border into southern and central Pennsylvania, expect sleet and then freezing rain. Then we get into the overnight hours, and a lot of this area here will see an ice buildup. Again, late tomorrow night into the early part of Friday morning. Far northern suburbs of D.C., closer to the Pennsylvania-Maryland border by late tomorrow night, early Friday morning. Again, a buildup of ice possible anywhere from northern Maryland across southern Pennsylvania and central Pennsylvania, and an ugly morning commute, let's say from Philadelphia metro region, especially to the north and west, and the suburbs to the north and west of Philly, an icy commute Friday morning, and that problematic commute extends to the north and east. Certainly New York City will have snow and ice to deal with for the Friday morning commute. Let's go back in time, by the way, and primarily snow north and west of D.C. and across upstate Pennsylvania early tomorrow night into the overnight hours. New York State, for example, anywhere from 6 inches, maybe to as much as 9 inches of snow upstate New York. And then we get into Friday morning. And another feature of cold air damming is with that cold air kind of stationed in position east of the Appalachian Mountains, you oftentimes get a little bit of a low pressure area forming off the Mid-Atlantic coastline. This tends to help maintain that cold air east of the Appalachians, places like southeastern Pennsylvania. It will tend to maintain that low-level cold air, and that's why I believe there's a big potential problem for the Friday morning commute north and west of Philadelphia, maybe even into the town of Philadelphia as well. And in this district itself, probably temperatures by early Friday morning just above freezing, so plain rain there. Again, the bigger problems I expect Friday morning commute will be Philadelphia north and east. Let's now move forward a little bit in time here, and still some icing into the midday hours to far northern and western suburbs of Philadelphia, all the way across east central Pennsylvania into central Pennsylvania and upstate New Jersey, New York City. Sleet and freezing rain all the way into the midday hours, and a continuation of snow throughout much of New York State, New England, let's say from the Massachusetts border, southern Massachusetts border on north, all snow. Significant snow event for much of New England and New York State. Let's go out a little bit farther in time. It moves off the eastern seaboard by the time we get to Friday night, and a cold day to follow on Saturday, and more cold air. Very cold air arrives by the early part of next week. Monday looks like a very cold day for the Mid-Atlantic region, the northeastern part, with temperatures way below normal. So a significant ice buildup possible tomorrow night in parts of the Mid-Atlantic region, primarily those northern Maryland areas near the Pennsylvania border, all the way across southern Pennsylvania, central Pennsylvania. Could even have a few inches of snow with this system. Let's say northeastern Pennsylvania, the New York City metro region at the onset, early, middle part of tomorrow night. Stay tuned to arcfieldweather.com for updates later today. That's it for now. I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.